When I go to create a drawing of a part, I'm going to hit New, and I'm going to choose the Drawing option. Our template will already load. You'll see the title block across the bottom. There's a border that all drawing pieces, including dimensions, will need to stay inside of, and it will ask me to put down a model view. I can click Browse here, go to wherever I've saved my part, and choose my part. If your part is already open, it'll automatically appear in that screen. Now, when you come here, you'll notice I have the front view is the one that's kind of darkened in right here. Please just take a quick double check and make sure yours also has the front view there so that you don't place the wrong views. The front view of my part always goes, if you imagine dividing your page once vertically and once horizontally, it goes in that lower left-hand corner. I'm going to click that. It's going to set down and create my front view. I'm going to drag upwards, which it's going to project then my top view. My top view lives above my front view. Click. Then from my front view, I'm going to go out to the right. I'm going to create the right side view and click. Those are my standard 3 views. However, as you noticed on the example, I have an isometric view shaded up in the corner. I create that by pulling off at like a 45. We'll move this in a minute, and I click it to set it down. Once I'm done with all my views, I can click the green check mark, and I have my view set in place. You will notice that the front view controls the other flat views. If I move it up, so everybody see how, you can see how as I move this, it keeps the front view and the top aligned. It keeps the front view and the right side aligned. I can change how close or far away it is from the front view, but I can't pull it up and down so it's not aligned. That is a good thing. Now, when your part comes in SolidWorks, it's going to be scaled down quite a bit. As you can see on this drawing, I've got a lot of blank space between my views, way more than I need for dimensioning. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to click the front view, because remember, the front view controls everything. I'm going to scroll my properties menu down to where I see scale. I'm going to say use a custom scale. The sheet scale is picked itself at 1:2 or half scale. I can have this at 1:1 or full scale. Okay, you'll notice my isometric did go off the page, but if remember by looking at the example, you should already be aware that we're going to shrink this one down by itself anyway. I can then position these on the screen, so I make sure I have left plenty of room for dimensioning between the views, because dimensioning between the views is where my dimensions are required to be. Let's go ahead and handle our isometric though. When I grab this, I will be able to place it anywhere. As I've told you already, it's a little big, and I like having this shaded in to help us identify which surfaces belong to the front, the top, or the right side. So here are the settings to set for your isometric. Again, click once on the border, you'll see it's highlighted, and as long as you didn't set any views down and then delete them, and you did them in the order that I did them, it will be called Drawing View 4. If you did it differently, those numbers will be different. First thing we're going to do is its scale. So its parent scale comes from the front view. We can have it either do sheet scale or custom. I want you to get in the habit of custom scale, because what you want to do is the current scale is 1:1. You're going to cut that in half. So you're going to go 1:2. If my current scale was 1:2, I would cut that in half and make this 1:4. Okay? It's not always half scale. It's always half of whatever scale the rest is. I'm going to put this in the top. This is a lot of times because parts are designed with other business people involved. People in accounting, people in marketing, people who don't necessarily understand a technical drawing. This kind of helps them out. For any of you who are learning this for the first time or struggling with this, this will help you out as well, especially when we tell its display style to be shaded with edges. When we do this, you'll notice that the dark gray faces are faces from the front view. The medium gray faces are the right side, and the lightest gray ones belong to the top view. So that'll also help you kind of get yourself organized. Now, the title block is filled out by double-clicking on them. If the title block tag or placeholder has no colon at the end of it, please replace it. So at this point, you would put your first and last name in your name and not make the mistakes I did. You would rename the part name or the assembly name. In this case is challenge block 1. Notice I'm typing in all caps because in technical drawings we usually use all capital letters. I'm actually, just to make this easier, going to copy that, because in this instance, since we don't have a packet of a bunch of different drawings of this part, the project name is also challenge block 1. In the future, those will change. Your page. If you click it, see, since this one has a colon, I'm going to put the one after the word page. If you replace it, it just has a random 1 in a box, and we don't understand what that means. For this drawing, we're not going to talk about exactly how you decide that the scale is this, but the scale that you're going to type in is 1 inch space equals space 1 inch. That's the title block filled out. I'm now going to go ahead and use my Smart Dimension tool on the Annotate tab to add the dimensions I need to add. All dimensions need to be inside or between the views whenever possible. These 2 dimensions on this part need to be to the outside. Everything else can be to the inside. You're going to dimension everything 1 time. You are not going to be repetitive. And we try not to put dimensions overlapping the thing they're defining. So please try to keep that in mind as well. If you need the distance between 2 things, click both of them, one then the other, and you'll be able to get the distance between both of your items that you need. Dimension lines may not cross each other or overlap. Right now, all of my dimensions are showing as decimals. I am going to change this by going to the top and going to Tools and Options most of the way down. Under Document Properties and Units, you'll notice my length units do not have a nearest fraction. For our purpose, by clicking there, it puts the 1/8 in, or an 8. If you wanted it to measure to the nearest 16ths, you would put 16ths there. And I would push OK. Now all of mine that can be rounded to the nearest 1/8 display as fractions. This is a much cleaner way to do it unless you're designing a very small part where your measurements don't agree with fractions at all. The last thing you'll notice that's missing from the example is the material and the mass tag. Sometimes it won't be mass, but we will often tag ours with material and some piece of information that the teacher has requested to be with the drawing. These are usually going to be found in your instructions. All you need to do is come to Annotate and Note, and we're going to click to create a text box. Material, space equals space, and then whatever the SolidWorks definition is, whatever the term that SolidWorks uses. Hit enter to go to the next line, and you must then add in whatever material or whatever was required. This time we were talking about mass, so we do mass space equals space 0.93 pounds. Do not forget your units. This is a completed drawing that is ready to print.